My plan for this video was to take a leisurely stroll through setup day. Now, I did have some things that I needed to do prior to actually doing the installation, so I'd show you that. Then we get into the installation. I knew I was also going to have a lot of issues because there's a lot of new stuff this year, and so if show you what that looks like, show you how to overcome it in case you encounter any of those on your own. The classic hero encounters obstacle, hero overcomes obstacle kind of story. Well, it took me a little bit longer to get everything set up than I had planned. I believe I ran into every possible issue that you can run into when setting up these lights. Every muscle in my body is aching, which is a little surprising because I'm sure you can tell I'm pretty much a fitness buff. Now, I'm not griping about it. I had a blast setting everything up. I mean, I loved every minute of it. Well, except for the gnats flying up my nose. Hi, welcome to Can of Spader Christmas. Today is setup day. Getting very excited about that. Ideally, everything has already been fabricated. All you have to do is set it up. I've not actually ever accomplished that, but that's the ideal situation. Last time I mentioned that I used these for the mega tree, and then I've got these for the other props that I could have used these, but this is all I had. And then I found these. And I thought, well, then there must have been a reason that I did that, and there was. Because the rest of the mega tree is going to be done with this power injection wire dropping. So it is the same length as the data cables going into each, basically 4 legs, each of the 4 legs. So just to save money, I didn't want to put a bunch of different connectors like right here for the power injection. So this goes all the way in, but basically this sits under the tree, and then this will go to each of the legs. So that's why there's this much cable. Okay, makes sense now? Okay, this is the near final configuration of the box. I still have to deal with the Ethernet connection for this and the DMX connection for the other ones. I've got some connectors on order, so this isn't complete, but it's at a point where I can start to install it at least. For the power injection, I got some of these connectors. They're used in automotive connections a lot, but these are 16 gauge wires, so I figured that would be strong enough for doing power injection. And then the cable I got was just some, I think it was 14 gauge speaker wire. I'll link all this stuff below. I've got to do some preliminary work for the lights on the Megatree, the strings, because I did the power injection wrong last year, so I'm changing that out. So we'll have to do some prep work on that, and then I will just put the display up, and I'll go through all that with you. Okay, so here's the setup. So I have this connector feeding into the string. So I've got 12 of these strings. They're 100 nodes each. So it goes 50 up, 50 down. And then I came out of it just connecting the data wire to the next string. And I could go about 3 strings, but it still wasn't perfect. I was getting a lot of flickering and stuff because I didn't even connect the ground wire. So if you're going to jump to the next wire, connect at least the ground and the data. That way you've got a solid ground. You're not going to have any floating voltages between the 2 strings. Now this year I am running all of these on the same power supply, so I can just go straight from this string to the next string, and then I can add one of these power injection connectors in there with the pigtail. Before I button all this up, so this is the power injection connector. This is the pigtail that will go to the next wire, and so I've got just data flowing from the end of this one to the next one. I've got power flowing from this one to the next one, and I've got ground flowing from this one to the next one. So injecting power, I just hook another set of wires onto the plus and minus, and we're good to go. So I'll show you this once I've got 3 of these done. I will show you what that looks like with power injection. Okay, we've got this powered on. We have string 1 right, where's the end of it? String 1 is here, all this, and we come out here. This is the end of string 1, and then I have a pigtail going to string 2, and then I've got power injection coming in at the end of string 1. So I've got power going into the beginning and out of the end. Now I really don't need this one. I can actually do 3 of them with just power injecting at the end of 300, but I'm going to go ahead and do it just in case. And I have a bee in here with me, so let's see, where are we going? So this is end of string 2. This pigtail is going, get it? This pigtail is going to string 3, and here's power injection for string 2. So we're feeding that string, and then here's the end of string 3 with power injection. It's not going anywhere, but it could. So this is the kind of beginning and ending that I'm going to put on all these strings, so I don't have to pick one that, you know, they don't have to be in a certain position. I can just put them in there, and then I can wire them up however I need to. These are called bungee balls. It's just a bungee cord with a ball on the end, but they work great with Speo strips. So you just loop it and stick it through like that. Okay, you just loop it through, and then loop it through whatever you, now I use this a lot on the Mega Tree stuff. And you just loop it around there, so now you've got, it's tight, it's stretchy, it'll give a little bit, but it'll hold it straight. So this is my mount for the upper part of these windows. So I have a 1/2 inch piece of EMT going into some 3/8 inch eyelets that's being held about 3 or 4 inches from the house. And then for each of the cross pieces, I did some rebar across here just so I could make them straight. And you notice like I did the bottom 2 here and the top 2 here. So I think that'll keep the pixels pretty straight. And I've got 1, 2, and so 4 cross pieces total, and I didn't put the rebar in the bottom piece there, but you can see pretty tall window. I think, oh, excuse me, I think this thing would probably hold me up. So yes, I know it's pretty, it's just 3/8 inch. I know it is, let me see if I can focus that. I know it's very strong, but it also will hold a piece of 1/2 inch EMT just fine. I got the Boscoya strips wrapped around here. I did weld them together. I don't know if you can see that. So that's my windows. So it's 8 feet in diameter. I'll check it a couple of places because I'm sure it's not perfectly round, but I did try to put some cross numbers in there. Yeah, about 8 feet. 8 feet in diameter for about a 15-foot tree. So for the base, I just have two 4x4s that are 4 feet long crossing. Put this little pipe flange on it, and I can screw the what is this, galvanized pipe into it. So we have the outer pole, and then there's an inner pole, and then this one is just a piece of EMT, and all it does is provide the lift to push that center pole up. This is just a standard boat winch. It's light duty. Up here at the top, I put a little guide just to kind of hold the EMT in position up here. This is a 1/4-inch steel plate that I got off of eBay. I just put a little flange on the bottom of it so it would screw into this inner pipe. So I drilled 12 holes and just put these up here, so I'll just hang the lights off of these posts. So here's how I have it. I don't need to put anything on top because they will just hang on to this, and when I set it up, they're not going to fall off, so this is fine. So there's 12 strings. Each string is 100 pixels, 50 up and down. So they're laid out. The input is here, the output is here, the power injection is here. They have to be laid out in that order because that's the way data goes. It goes in there, up and down, out there, in there, out there, so it just keeps going down the line that way. So all the lights are hanging. It's not very stable right now. That'll change here in just a minute, but first step is to wire them all up, and then I can attach them to the ring, and then we can raise it up and tighten them. And then it'll add a lot more stability to this. At 8 locations around the tree, I've got 2 stakes. So I got one going in that way and one going in that way, so it'll secure this ring down. That way I can put tension on these strips. These bungee cords will have a little give in them, so that's how the tree stabilizes once everything is all set up. So that's it for the tree, 1200 pixels. It's about 12 and a half, 13 feet tall. It doesn't look like much now, but it does really look nice at night. This is the bottom of the window outline, another bungee ball. I may have to tighten this up a little bit because this is still a little bit loose. I may have not gone down far enough. And I will probably need to put a piece of rebar on this bottom one. I didn't think I was going to need it, but it looks like I will now. Not a problem, we'll fix that. But I want to get everything wired up so that I can test the lights tonight. I did move the wreath over to here. It was over here, but since I outlined the windows, I went ahead and moved it over here. Still fits perfect, so we're good. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I did use those little eyelets. I think those are a smaller version though. Those are not 3/8. So this is power and data coming in, and then this is just a power injection line. So this feeds 2 of the rings, and this feeds the other 2 with power. I do have it cut in between, but you don't have to do that. On the wall washer, I did put I did put a power injection in on it in case I need to do that. I probably will use that, but it will work. It's 120 pixels, so we're kind of just over the edge of it. And then we have these lights. It took a long time to put the diffusers on there. Oops, but I think it's gonna look nice. So that's kind of what we have this year. All right, let's see what comes on with test pattern. I have no idea what's gonna come on. Ooh, we got some lights. Oh, that's because it's not set up. Okay. Well, better than I thought it would be. Okay. It was at this point where I began to encounter every problem I had ever seen or heard about. The new controller was configured for 510 instead of 512. Pigtails were not plugged in all the way. Pigtail connections were not good. The wires were loose, so I was getting erratic patterns. My Ethernet cable kept coming undone, so I'd lose the connection and go, what's going on? But after about 5 hours, I got everything set up. Well, except for the big wreath. All right, the last piece of my puzzle is this wreath. I don't know if you can see it actually lighting up or not. I had to turn the brightness all the way down to 10%. So if I go higher, I will start, and I'll show you that in a second, but if I go higher, it starts acting like it's starved for power. So what I have right now is a sequence it's 30 seconds long. It starts at 0, ramps up to 100 over 10 seconds. It stays at 100% for 10 seconds, and then from 100% down to 0 for 10 seconds. And so this is working like it should. Like I said, I don't know if you can see it. So let me change this to 20% and we'll see if we get the behavior that I was seeing last night. So now we're at 20%. And we're already, yeah, okay. So now it has gotten into this weird state where I think it's pulling too much power to even change back to what it should be. So we will put some voltmeters on here and see if we can figure out what's going on with it. Usually once it gets into the state, I have to just unplug everything because it will not go back to working again. Okay, so as you can see, the voltage is good. At rest, we're actually a little high. Okay, and all the lights are coming up. And we go to 11.95 volts. So that's well within acceptable limits for these pixels. Again, this is 10%. Now let me go to 20% and see what happens to the voltage. Okay, we've got brighter lights. And we are already down to 10 volts. 9, 10. So I think it was just a ground problem after all. In fact, people will tell you to check your grounds to make sure. So I went back with the original wiring that I had, and it is power injected at one spot, but if you can see the other wires there, if I need to put a power supply like right on the ground underneath it, I can do that. But let's check this out. So I'm at 10% now. Let's go to 30%, which is what I want to run this at. And that looks good. This is 100% white, 30% brightness. Let's try to go further. Let's see what 50 looks like. Can we do 50? Yeah. So I think the ground was the main issue. They just didn't have things connected good. And I guess when I was soldering wires together, it fixed that problem. Let's try 60. Okay. Doesn't like 60. And that's fine, because I'm just going to do 30 anyway. I believe I have everything set up that needs to be set up. Everything should be working. So I'm just going to let the computer run the show from now on. So I have a Thanksgiving themed playlist that runs through Thanksgiving, and then the Christmas show starts on Friday. So So if the next video is a sequence, you'll know everything went well. If the next video is an explanation of what went wrong, well, then you kind of know that too. If you're still working on your display, I wish you success on that. For everybody else, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. And all the dogs run. And we have a jet flying over. There's so many cars going by.